Everyone, Matt with ConvertKit here. Hope you're doing great. Thanks for the hearts already. Something that I wanted to talk with you about. How you doing? Something that I wanted to talk with you about today is kind of a controversial topic, and Nathan was talking about it. He's actually written about it in a post, but something that I wanted to talk with you about is should you actually stop sending newsletter broadcasts? So we know that's kind of the bread and butter of email marketing, or it has been thought of that way, that when you have a new post, you go in, you add it, you send it to your list, your group of tags, your segment, your groups, your form, whatever that may be. But I'm wondering, and I want to get your opinion on this, should you actually stop sending broadcast newsletters? Okay, you're probably thinking, well, Matt, how am I ever going to how am I going to stay in touch with my list? They're expecting content from me, and they totally are. But this is how you can do it in a slightly different way. All right, this is how you can do it in a slightly different way. Instead of just sending your weekly broadcast, your weekly newsletter as a broadcast, why don't you set up? And this is actually something I'm doing. Why don't you set it up as a newsletter sequence instead of a weekly broadcast? So why would you want to do that instead? Well, for me, and I think what Nathan was arguing as well, is that, okay, what's the point of your newsletter? The point of your newsletter is to consistently deliver new content that you're cranking out. But if you put that into a sequence in ConvertKit or whatever instead, this is applicable to any email marketing program. I think it's done best in ConvertKit, but you expect me to say that. The thing that is really useful is that with a sequence, that content is delivered incredibly consistently. And I would say the number one thing that is going to help you, one of the top things that's going to help you grow and build your authority, is to be able to deliver consistent content to your audience. Okay? And so when I think about it in those terms, yeah, so you guys like that. That's what the hearts are for. When you think of it in those terms, it gets even more powerful, because if you're thinking of it that way, like I have been, okay, sometimes, things come up in life. I mean, how many of you, something has come up, let me see the hearts, or like make a comment, something's come up, you're like, oh man, I didn't get my broadcast out. And as much as we try, and as much as I think that the thing that is the only thing, so the thing that I find to be really useful with this is that Rebecca makes a great point that sometimes the only thing you read are the newsletters, too many long sales funnels. So the way that I would differentiate that, and this is what's really powerful about ConvertKit, is like, yes, you can have that sales funnel sequence, and I think that's useful because you're a pro. You want to be a pro. You got to sell things to be a pro. Okay, and that's totally okay. You shouldn't feel bad about that at all. That's how you're making your living. No one gets angry at Target because you go and you have to buy stuff there. Sometimes you need a throw pillow, and no one gets upset at Target. I need throw pillows right now on my couch. But the thing with the sequence, in terms of a newsletter sequence, is that like Sarah was saying, that consistency is key. And so if things are coming, something comes up in your life, and as much as you want to be ahead of the game on your content calendar, on that publishing calendar, so you've got, hopefully maybe the next 4 weeks are already planned out, they're scheduled, they're ready to roll, you don't have to worry about it, you have that buffer in your publishing calendar. But what a newsletter sequence allows you to do is, as you create a new post, it goes on your blog, or you have something new that only goes to your email subscribers, then that just goes into the sequence. And so when a new person comes in to your sequence, okay, a new person comes into that sequence for you, you know that they are going to consistently get content for a long time, okay? And as you start putting things into that, it just keeps getting longer and longer and longer, but in a really good way, not in a sales funnel way, but in a, think about, like for me, like this new project that I started on Sketchnotes. I've only been doing it since the beginning of the year, but now I've got like 10 emails in a starter course, and I've got another 10 to 15 emails in like the blog archive. So now, if when someone comes in, like the first thing that they do, I've talked about this in some other videos in terms of sequences. When someone comes in, they get that starter course right away. So they get those 10 emails that come out over a course of, I think it's a month, like 2 emails a week, and then like a little something extra. So they get, for the first month, they get that starter sequence, okay? But then once they complete that, then they get automatically in ConvertKit, completes this automation rule, completes a sequence, subscribe to next sequence. So complete starter course, add to subscribe to the newsletter sequence. And I've got, say, 16 emails now inside that newsletter sequence that is going out once a week. So I've got that consistent, same time, consistent delivery of a new newsletter for them, because it has been a newsletter at some point. But I've got that consistent content. So now someone new, like for me, I know that someone new that comes into that list today, that comes in on that Sketchnote course, they're going to get consistent content from me for 5 months, okay? So in some ways, I have already created like a 5-month buffer of content, like it's already out there and they're going to be getting it, okay? So yeah, Sarah, this is a great question. Do you use this entirely in place of broadcast, or do you use broadcast for a different purpose? So broadcasts still 100% have a place, because sometimes, probably pretty often, you do need to send a specific email for a purpose, okay? But what I do is I've been using broadcasts, and like same thing for ConvertKit. We use broadcasts for very specific, say like one-time use emails. So if it's, hey, I'm having a webinar, or I'm doing a Periscope, or Facebook Live video, or we're doing, for you, if you're doing a sales launch, anything like that where you just need to send a single email, or maybe it's, I'm starting this new, this is to people who are interested in Sketchnotes, like say, again, from my perspective, if I'm doing something on Sketchnotes and they're getting all of those normal things, like the starter course, and then the newsletter sequence. Let's say, which I am, developing another course on Sketchnotes for people who are going to conferences. Okay, so a conference Sketchnote course, all right? Then I would want to send a broadcast saying, hey, I'm starting this new thing. Are you interested in a course that specifically shows you how to take advantage of Sketchnotes when you're at a conference? Then, using a link trigger, I'm going to just say, click here if you want to be added. So that would be an example of a good way to use a broadcast for me. And again, anytime that you're doing something that's maybe a short-term, one-time use type of interaction. Okay, so does all that make sense? I know it's not something that you have to do right away. It's not something you have to do at all. But when Nathan was talking about it and we were discussing this, I was like, oh man, that's really intriguing. And I think especially like for me, now if you, like, I'm not a pro blogger personally, because I work at ConvertKit. I've got, a kid, I've got, my wife and my dog, and I'm trying to, you're just trying to live your life. What this newsletter sequence does is that it allows me, like I said, that even if I miss a week of content or a couple of weeks of content, as long as I don't miss 4 months of content, then, I can steadily keep, and for a while it would eventually catch up with me. But like I said, right now, someone who comes into a site right now that I'm running, is they're going to have 5 months of steady content ahead of them. And so as long as I stay ahead of that, then it gives me a good buffer for how I want people coming through. Okay, and that way, anytime you may think, oh, well, they're at the end. What if they reach the end of your sequence? Like you've got 10 emails on it, or even 20 emails, and they're done at the end of 5 months or whatever. Then all you do is when you write a new post that you want to add, then all you do is add a new email to that sequence and they get it right away. So they wouldn't at that point have gotten it every week if they were at the completion of it. But, again, then you're just adding to that sequence for people who are starting new. So that's a couple of thoughts for you. Another couple of things that I have started talking about, I talked about it in the Facebook group this morning, I want to tell you about a couple of books that I'm reading. For those of you watching, I just finished reading Deep Work by Cal Newport. Found it to be really helpful for ways of thinking through, so reading Deep Work by Cal Newport. Just finished it in the audio version. He did a really good job. But it gives me a really good framework for thinking through how you can block off time for the deep focused work that will really like move your business and your work forward, and also some good ways to communicate that to the other important people in your life, whether that's managers or managers, bosses, other family members, stuff like that. So that one was really great. It also, along with recommendations from a couple of people inside ConvertKit, Daryl and Val being them, also picked up today the 4 Disciplines of Execution, 4DX. And so even though it is the most businessy book cover that I've ever seen, and it looks like it was specifically designed in PowerPoint, like, where did this come from? I don't understand. I don't, like, did this used to be, was this a Netscape logo at one point and they decided to ditch it? And so they're like, oh, let's throw some Times New Roman font on there and make it, I don't know, it's supposed to be an amazing book, but I'm kind of picky with my covers. Like, say, for example, some of the things that I've been reading, like, I mean, I get kind of spoiled with stuff like Rework and anything with Seth Godin. So that's maybe a bit unfair, but still, yeah, come on. Well, don't judge a book by its cover, exactly. But still, this, I mean, come on. I don't know what this is. The other book that I'm reading right now is Grit from Angela Lee Duckworth, and it is fantastic also. Really great study. I mean, she's brilliant and really sharp and gritty. And she actually has a really good TED Talk that you should check out, even if you don't check out the book. But the book is really solid so far also. A lot of good examples, good storyteller. So yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. I guess another book that I just finished. I'm normally reading 2 or 3 books at a time. This one's a little bit more out there. It has nothing to do with business. But I just finished The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, I think his name is. But it's really good. It's really good also. Don't know if anyone's read that. And the last thing that I want to mention, which one, Sarah? Is this. This is called the Self Journal, and it's by ConvertKit customer and friend Catherine Lavery. You can check her out on, just find her on the Twitters. And she runs Best Self Co. And so really good. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Little new agey, but some really good nuggets in there. What I really like, so this is a combination kind of journal / planner that I have found to be really fantastic, and really I think maybe because there's some constraints in it and some good prompts, that it really gives me a good framework for thinking through how I'm going to go through the day. And so you can see the whole day is laid out from 6 to 9, some different things in there. Grateful for in the morning, grateful for in the evening. Big goal that you're working on, daily targets, cool quote here, wins for the day, and lessons learned. So all of these, really enjoying this. The other thing that I really like about it, and it's such a small thing, but like for me, it was really good. Yeah, it's the Self Journal. Self Journal. And here's Catherine's name right there. She's great. The thing that I really like about Self Journal, and the reason that I've stuck with it much better than any other journal or planner that I've ever done, I've never been any good at those, because I get really frustrated with wasted space in books and notebooks. And so like something that is, laid out like a standard calendar or, planner, like if I don't use it for a few days or even for a week or God forbid a month, then it's just like, it's this chunk of pages that I'm just not going to do anything with. Now, what's nice about Self Journal, as you can see here, this is just a blank page for a couple of weeks from now, but all of these are, you just pick the day and you write in what date it is. So even if, like for me, especially because I work kind of an odd schedule, and that I just get to write in whatever day it is and make a plan based on whatever day it is, rather than being like, ah, crap, I haven't written anything in it and I have all this space that's not going to be used now. So, self-journal, 4 disciplines of execution, deep work, and the 4 agreements, and grit in terms of book recommendations and reviews. So, going to be doing this on a weekly basis. I haven't nailed down a specific time for Periscope yet, but it's going to pretty consistently be on Wednesdays. So if you are interested in seeing more of these videos, the other cool thing that is happening, just saw it on the Periscope update this week, is apparently these are going to stay live, like these Periscope broadcasts. So we're going to start embedding them in different places, but they won't delete themselves. You can come back if you just know, hey, it's on Wednesday. Then keep an eye on the Twitter feed, and you'll be able to come back and find it at any time in the past, and we'll embed them in some different places also. Okay, all right. Thanks so much, everyone, and really enjoyed doing these, and gonna keep doing them. All right, take care. Bye.